Last time on RobotnikHolmes Analyses. You suck. No you. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Jesus, you frickin' grazed me. I got you? Oh, you should have backed out, fucker, if you knew you wouldn't win. Now it's Anti-Holmes' turn. And don't worry, I'll give these comics the proper respect they deserve. Now say bye-bye to your little review series. Emo Chow? What was he doing in my closet?
When the radar flashes red, that means you're close. Select sunglasses with Y button. Then put them on using B button.
Okay, what the honest hell? I literally can't tell which one of you is more annoying right now. Wait! Why are we fighting over old comics anyway? Instead of offing me and making videos yourself, why don't we work together? I know my Sonic lore, you know your comics. We can both review these things. I'm not sharing the spotlight with you, Dick Weasel. But you do make a point. It's a pretty silly thing to fight over. It's settled. We don't kill each other, right? I'm not letting that go. But for now, yeah, sure. Whatever. I'm up for co-reviewing this thing. Alright. Glad we talked it out. Sorry for the wait, viewers. Cue title sequence. Good day all, RobotnikHolmes here. Yo, Anti-Holmes is also here. You might want to start with a recap on what went on during this time. Oh, cheers man, I almost forgot. Picture this viewers, it's 1994, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is released to the public, the comic books under Archie comics keep on coming, and of course, the Sat AM cartoon finishes its final season. It was December 3rd, 1994 when it no longer aired on ABC. I'll get into what the cartoon was going to offer in a future video, but do you know the Archie Sonic cover that was released in the meantime, a whole month before the series got cancelled? Well... yeah, what a crazy coincidence. But just because the cartoon got canned, didn't mean the comics did too. What with the show gone, fans of the Freedom Fighters and their crusade likely flocked to the comics, as that was the only other media where these characters even appeared. But man, this must have put a tad bit of pressure on the publishers. I know I'd be pretty stressed out. Luckily, the likes of Angelo De Cesare and Ken Penders did not back down. In fact, you could say their writing improved tenfold during this time, as they'd been on the comic for a year writing for the characters and its lore. From this point onward, they would become the shining example of writing for Sonic comic books, and their works would be cherished for years to come by both fans and future writers alike. Maybe not Ken Penders though, his writing still sucks. Oh, shut up you. Either way, you guys will see for yourself the wonders of these earlier issues, but I'm here to see if they hold up, which they do. Indeed. So, hold on to your butts, mothers and... oh, sorry. God damn it. Today, both of us are going to take a look at issues number 19 and number 20. Oh my word, what's with all the Sonics? I can already tell this isn't going to bode well. There's a whole bunch to look at here, but at least it's nicely drawn, I guess? Though the Yeehaw Sonic with the stubble kind of makes me question my life choices.
It's high noon.
I guess I'm lucky there's only one story this time, as we are presented with Night of 1000 Sonics. Right off the bat, we spot a weird portal to another realm, which has the Freedom Fighters spooked. I assume Sonic is the only one familiar with interdimensional travel at this point, but it's not the hero who enters the portal this time, but rather a Sonic lookalike that is just pooped out. This half-robot version of Sonic, dubbed Cyborg Sonic, is one of many countless versions of him across the infinite dimensions. And after he briefly starts a fight with the main hero, the cyborg goes into backstory mode and begins to talk at length. And ooh, initiate flashback sequence. Apparently he hails from a dark and gritty timeline, where Dr. Robotnik had apparently turned the good guys into half-robots. akin to Bunny Rabbit, I guess. Only in this case, they became super powerful and kicked metallic arse. Freaking Rotor over here does a Bane from Batman and goes to town on a Swatbot's back. The villain was forced to take drastic measures and apparently roboticized himself? And what happened next? Well, that's not explained. But he does destroy the freedom fighters of that dimension and leaves old Robo-Sonic the sole survivor of the devastating attack. He hopes to look for help, or else his universe's Robotnik would go ahead and wreck the crap out of other universes or something. Of course, our hero will make sure that doesn't happen, and he intends to do that by means of... wait, there's a whole bunch of Sonics here? Oh wow, there's so many different sorts. It's kind of messed up, but I do kind of appreciate the level of insanity on display here.
You fool! I have 70 alternative accounts!
Anyway, all these different versions of Sonic are brought so that they can team up and combat the threat. Dear gosh, yeah, forget the freedom fighters, Sonic's friends with a wide variety of skills and personality traits. Just have a million different Hedgies. But alas, there's no time for any planning, as the sudden arrival of Robo-Robotnik interrupts their preparations. What kind of name is that? Robo-Robotnik? That's like calling a tin of beans made from beans, beans. I mean, I guess it's the easiest way to show that this version is dastardlier than his regular counterpart. Speaking of which, seems like he's doing his usual stick of spying on the heroes, and Dr. Robotnik does not like what he sees. I mean, I'd probably be a bit perplexed if a darker, more brooding version of myself appeared out of nowhere too. What? So, the big bad doesn't like the way this is going, so he decides to send out his own attack force. And they have a scuffle between the regular Swatbots and these shadow Swatbots. I'm so sorry dude, these things were named after you. So much so that they all get torn to pieces, and the reader can cut them out and make their own robots? Hold on, let me try. What in God's name is that? An abomination? With Robo-Robotnik's forces destroyed thanks to his prime counterparts, it seems like the villain is defeated. Far from it actually, we've still got a lot of pages left to go. While the bigger bad disappears, the regular big bad decides to team up and join forces with Sonic. And Sonic.
And Sonic. And Sonic. And Sonic.
So, while Robotnik formulates a plan with the others in their unthinkable alliance, alongside not so subtle references to other properties, it doesn't seem to go well, as the other guys seem to be more preoccupied with fighting each other instead of coming up with a plan. Also, what the heck is with this comic and making Sonic fricking ripped? It's not an issue, but it is distracting. Anyway, Dr. Robotnik brings up the existence of this Giant's Hand, a powerful alien weapon located in another dimension, and he believes that his counterpart is plotting to take it. The army of Sonics all decide to go there via the cosmic interstate, unaware that Robotnik is still evil and wants the Giant's Hand for himself. Don't worry, it's not addressed ever again. However, he himself is unaware that Robo-Robotnik is watching their every move, and he plans accordingly. In order to cut them off and get the MacGuffin himself, the villain decides to summon the likes of... oh, evil Sonic. Oh dear. Looks like Robo-Robotnik is bringing the Lord of Edge back into the fray. It can only get worse from here. Meanwhile, the Sonics are able to find the dimension they are looking for, the elusive neutral zone, which looks like a colourless void. Huh, I guess they decided to give the colorist a break. I mean, considering how much they had to colour in already. Eventually, the gang come across the fabled Giant's Hand, right in plain sight, and... wait! I'm sorry. That's the Infinity Gauntlet. I know later on it's shown to be all black, but seriously, that's Thanos' goddamn magic glove right there. Jesus Christ, think of the memes! I mean, back then, these guys didn't know the memic status of this thing, but it's still really funny looking back at it. Auntie, what are your thoughts? What's a meme? Oh man, it's evil Sonic, and he's gotten the thing that the others are looking for. Apparently his motives this time around are teaming up with Robo-Robotnik and being the only Sonic left in existence after his rule. This guy? Yeah, no. Get bent. This battle is pretty short, and really the whole villain team-up thing is too, as the Giant Hand is just teleported away and ends up in Robo-Robotnik's possession anyway. Makes the whole trip through other dimensions pretty pointless. The big bad guy appears to have won, and he adds the now massive gauntlet to his collection, and when added to his mech, he is able to complete a machine that would be powerful enough to go to other universes and destroy all Sonics. It is a giant robot called the Giant Borg. Yeah, I'm sure this was considered serious at one point, but I don't know. I think Robotnik's big arm mecha is more menace than this dopey looking tin can. Alright, the giant Borg is strolling around Mobius while Sally Acorn laments that they have failed in their mission. But Sonic knows not to quit. They have an army of Sonics on their side, and by God they're going to use them. During this time, Sally steps up and is able to convince the Hedgehog army to not fight amongst each other, but instead work together with the power of friendship and take on the giant Borg, as demonstrated by earlier events. This gets the Sonics going, to go beat up the giant robot. It's not an easy battle, as the giant robot possesses a lot of strength and crushes most of them with its fists. I guess when you have the Infinity Gauntlet, anything is possible. However, the villain forgets that the Sonic is the fastest thing alive. And what with a horde of Sonics being there, they quickly plan a counterattack while the giant Borg is off balance. It's successful of course, and while the giant Borg is pelted at by infinite spin attacks for 2 whole pages, Robo-Robotnik and the giant Borg are ultimately destroyed. It's a victory for the heroes, and Robo-Robotnik is left as a dismembered head, sprouting typical computer jargon. The head is snatched away by Cyborg Sonic though, and while we don't know exactly what he does with it, one Terminator reference later and he's running off in the other direction. The remains of the giant Borg are also left all over the place, but thankfully, Sonic gets the idea for each of the hundreds of Sonics to take a piece of it back home, so as the thing can never be reformed and threaten the multiverse again with its stupid ass name. The issue finally ends with Sonic and Sally making a joke as the sun sets. Where's the other freedom fighters? Who cares? Oh boy, this was a lot to read through. I like how it's sort of a sequel to The Good, the Bad and the Hedgehog, what with it having another Sonic vs Evil Sonic fight, the Cosmic Interstate being present to move the plot along, and an alternate version of the comic's Big Bad appearing. However, as fun as the idea was, you know, millions of Sonics all teaming up to combat a greater threat, the pacing was very inconsistent. For one thing, the army of Sonics just appear, like, the organising just happened off-screen, or is it off-page? And for the entire story, they just muck about in other dimensions. They don't get things done until the last few pages. What about Sally? What are the freedom fighters doing during all this? Are they just out eating hot dogs until it all blows over? Despite its grandiose setting, the story is really disconnected from the established world. If you enjoyed seeing a million Sonics going around dank-ass, spacey universes, and fighting a giant robot at the end, you're entitled to your own opinion, honestly. But in my view, this whole story was pretty formulaic. That means I'm going to give it a score of 1. No, I'm just kidding. Instead, I'll give it a 2. This issue had 2 artists working on it this time. From what I can tell, Dave Manak did the first half, giving all the Sonics his charming, cartoony style. Background details are honestly his specialty. I cannot stress this enough. I mean, just look at Chef Sonic. Where else are you going to see such perfection? Art Mooney still does a good job drawing expressions and background details, but I think he got the short end of the stick here. The first part had all these humorous panels with all these characters, not to mention that little Swapbot standoff. But Winnie was given the task of drawing stale backgrounds in a starry void most of the time. I'm so sorry, man. He did do a great job on the giant Borg though, even if it wasn't as great a threat to the heroes as I thought it would be. Let's talk characters. None of the Sonics had any personality traits except for their specific themes. Well, except for Sonic from the Ripped Zone. The Freedom Fighters, as previously noted, were mainly absent from this universe-spanning adventure, but I reckon that's a good thing. Having extra characters might have cluttered up the panels even more than they already were. The character of Robo-Robotnik, I think, has a small bit of villainous charm, despite being nothing more than a version of Robotnik who spray-painted himself dark colours. I like how he was built up as this more twisted version of the main bad guy, who went to such crazy lengths to destroy the Freedom Fighters that he frickin' roboticized himself. And he was nary seen in the first third, which I think was a good build-up until his eventual reveal of being a giant shouty head. The writers and artists both did a rather good job at art and characters. Because of this, I'm going to give it a score of 3. Final score for this crazy ass issue is a 5 out of 10. It built itself up as a big, grand adventure, and I think it was fun, but not enough for me to not notice the glaring problems with the story. Well, that was my 2 cents at number 19. Auntie, do you want to tackle the next one? Yeah, sure. You got to talk about the lesser issue, so it's only fitting I review the better one of the 2. Whatever, just go. Alright, viewership, now we're getting into the good stuff. Let's begin dissecting this thing. The cover for this issue has the Freedom Fighters putting up a goddamn memorial for Sonic, because apparently the blue guy died in the heat of battle in protecting freedom. Ah, allow me to offer the world's smallest What happened to the main hero of this story that got him killed to death, you ask? Well, we're gonna find out in this story named That's the Spirit. So, Sally and Sonic are mucking about in Dr. Robotnik's territory, and they're on a quest to destroy the villain's antimatter machine, a device that can supposedly make one entirely invisible. This spells bad for the heroes, and so Sally is able to use Nicole to locate where exactly they need to go, and they actually find it. Kinda wish it looked more like an ominous piece of machinery instead of the container for Dr. Robotnik's farts. The two heroes bicker for a little bit, but then suddenly find themselves separated, with the Hedgehog caught in Robotnik's dastardly trap. Sonic appears to be completely cornered, with SWATbots surrounding him as the villain gloats his arse off. But Sonic happens to remember that he has one of Rotor's bombs. If you ask me, it's a bad idea that he set off explosives in a room containing an unstable machine, but the brains of the operations aren't here, so... The next time we see Sally, she is struggling on her way back to Knothole, as she believes that Sonic had perished in the explosion. She's shown to be pretty messed up, overthinking her friend, potential love interest and leading member of the Freedom Fighters is gone for good. And, oh, look at her. I just want to give her a hug, the poor girl. After kicking their asses, of course. Of all the heroes, it is Tails who refuses to believe the guy the comic is named after has kicked the bucket. But the others just tell him to face the facts, which is pretty hard-hitting, especially for someone in his position. So, like the cover sort of illustrates, maybe this story is about coming to terms with losing someone, in this case it being a speedy blue hedgehog, and the grief of having to accept that they are gone? What the f do you think? This is writer Angelo DiCesare we're talking about. Of course, they wouldn't kill off their flagship character, and it's revealed that Sonic is not only still alive, but of course, the dude is 100% invisible. And not just translucent, because he can go right through stuff. So he's basically a spirit of his former self. I see what you did there, Angelo. As expected, Sonic goes all sad because he can't interact with his friends and clarify that he's actually still there. He's just a translucent fast boy now. And Tails' denial gets the other Freedom Fighters pissy with him. Funny how Sonic can't interact with his friends, but he is able to hold a piece of paper, and oh my fucking god, Tails' letter to the ghost of Sonic. It's one of the most genuinely funny panels in this era of the comics. From Tails casually writing that they are going to avenge Sonic's death, to the PS at the bottom addressing the absurdity of this letter. There is one person who is glad of Sonic's assumed demise, and that's Dr. Robotnik. So much so that he breaks his stupid rules of no dancing or singing. Snively is there to give him the bad news as per usual, and the villain is shocked to know that the Freedom Fighters are coming in and hoping to fight for the memory of Sonic. Wow guys, those are some really nice morning beanies you have there. Yeah, the Freedom Fighters are going to the war zone, and little do they know that they're actually marching right to their doom, yada yada. If only there was someone, a hero, with even a ghost of a chance to stop the evil bad guy and ultimately save the day. Dun dun dun. So Sonic messes with Robotnik and Snively as a ghost, so much so they decide to jump ship and escape, and our hero becomes visible again, and reunites with his friends. There's surprisingly little fanfare, considering how much we saw of them grieving over his death earlier on. But I guess rather, we need room for a pun about the ghost scaring Dr. Robotnik into exorcising. Exorcising. Piss off. The other story is the real meat of this issue, I swear on my shades. It stars Princess Sally herself, and she uses only gadgets and Nicole to break into a heavily guarded area. She does a pretty badass job on this too, it's quite admirable. Nicole is able to do some computer mumbo-jumbo on one of the computers, and the place is rigged to explode, so as to put a wrench in yet another one of Dr. Robotnik's plots. See, this is what the Freedom Fighters do, and it only took them like 20 issues to get here. Out here, I really like this detail in particular. There's this timer that goes in the margins as Sally makes her escape. However, she soon rounds a corner and is confronted by this random skunk dude who uses bows and arrows as weapons. It beats Jeffrey St. John, the leader of a different band of Freedom Fighters. And that is something Sally is rather glad to hear, because as far as she and the others knew, they were the only ones around to fight the dictator. However, the two are secretly being spied on by Robotnik's SWATbots, as they do when you're in enemy territory, and the story stops there on a cliffhanger, perhaps intending to continue in another issue? Well, that escalated quickly, didn't it? I like how the comics are slowly but surely inching towards the setting and tone of the Set AM cartoon. I mean, the first story was fine. It was basically the usual pun-filled ride, only this time Angelo did a better job at subtle humour instead of Gallagher's method of just putting quirky humour everywhere. I didn't even get into the wacky hijinks that Ghost Sonic got into, because in the end, that kind of stuff was just there to pad the comic with panels of dumb humour. Sally's story, however, holy shit. Do you see this even pacing? Do you see the tension as the heroine deals with swapbots and sneaks her way into one of Robotnik's facilities? Do you see how the first half doesn't even have dialogue, allowing the reader to focus entirely on the characters and gorgeous art? This is fantastic. It's like a love letter to the cartoon. Doubly so when you remember it was cancelled at this point. I think the writing all across the board was very well done, with the intense Sally sneaking mission in the second, and the first story touching on the subject of death and moving on. A bit lightly. I was pretty impressed reading this issue, and I bet anyone would find enjoyment out of this too. Story score gets a 4. Dave Manick's art, you know, it's fine. Sometimes his serious stuff still comes off as cartoony considering his style, but it gets the job done. Art Mawhinney on the other hand, f***ing yes. As a veteran of the original cartoon, his style works super well here. You see, even in comic books, scenes can be done without words and just let the art speak for itself. This issue also has the first appearance of Jeffrey St. John, and honestly, he fits right in. Finally, a character design that works and wasn't just chat out of the writer's collective arse. Though from what I know, his design was partially based on an existing character from the cartoon. Let's see, where is he? Ah, there he is. Honestly, this awesome combination of art and characters alone almost blew me away. I can say it's a step in the right direction. It deserves a score of 4. That leaves this little comic book with an issue score of 8 out of 10. Ha, look at that, lesser me. Do you ever give this kind of score to any of your reviews, or am I just that awesome? You did have the advantage of reading the best one of the two. I was just stuck with Ken Penders' pencil shavings. At least you got to read something he made that was actually good. Okay, come the fuck on. What's your beef with his writing? It's iconic in its own way, even if it's dated nowadays. Oh, you know. The writer himself is an absolute douche. He kept putting way too many characters in his stories that don't matter on the long run. And he was one of the reasons that the comic was not only rebooted, but also eventually cancelled. It freaking— Whoa, steady there, wimp sauce. You're blowing this really out of proportion. The Ken Penders I knew always did a good job at making awesome characters and expansive lore. He may have become a bad apple, but he used to be great. Name one thing. Come on, tell me one thing. One single, actually good thing that came out of his tenure as writer. Go on, I'll wait. I don't know. He was the first to take the comic seriously. What? Don't be a dumbass. You know the publishers only intended to have crude jokes, cookie-cutter stories, and a minimalist style that made it a crazy joyride to read? Wasn't that one of your complaints in earlier videos? That it was just too loose to take seriously? Yeah, but who was the first writer to try? To actually try and make a coherent story? Who was the first writer to not only have puns and pop culture references, but also something more? And without his input, perhaps we'd be reviewing an episode of Looney Tunes instead. What do you have to say to that, huh? No, you're right. Ha! I've stumped you! Another victory for— Wait, what? I have been pretty harsh on the guy. Back then he probably wasn't even half the copyright jerk-ass he is today. I should go in with an open mind. Not be clouded by hatred over what an arse an old writer would later become. Judge the creator, not the creations. I get it now. Thanks, Auntie, you huge Ken Penders fan, you. Wait, what? Don't mistake me as a Penders fanboy. I believe all the writers deserve a fair judgment. Just because you're used to the later issues, doesn't mean you should dismiss the old ones so willfully. Also, you're allowed to criticize his earlier work. I just wanted you to go in without any future bias. Anyway, I'm making my leave. This place smells too much of wasted potential. Wait, Auntie! Thanks for helping me out. It was fun collaborating with myself, which just sounds depressing as heck now that I think about it. But I appreciate your different views on these comics. Do you want to collab again at some point? You can't tell me what to do, inferior me. You knocked me out the last time we met. But I guess me slashing you means we're even. I'm sorry about that, I guess. But we will meet again. And during that time, perhaps we won't be enemies. Bye, Holmes. Yeah, see ya. Well, Omu-chow, I guess it's just you and me.
In mid-jump, press B button to dig into the ground.
Yeah, I knew that.
When gliding, press B button to dive into the ground below.
That's
Try
enough.
the spiral upper
Your sound bites have
technique.
gone on long enough.
Full circle on the
Come
analog
on.
thumb pad.
See you guys next
plus
time.
B button.
In the next video, I'm reviewing